du meine Arbeit für richtig hältst, ob du glaubst, dass ich fleißig gewesen bin, dass ich gearbeitet habe, dass ich mich in diesen Jahren für dich eingesetzt habe, dass ich anständig meine Zeit verwendet habe im Dienste meines Volkes. Gib du jetzt deine Stimme ab. Wenn ja, dann tritt für mich ein, so wie ich für dich eingetreten bin.
Well, good morning, America, and welcome back to the Rhine Report and Rhine on the News, the other channel. And today, sadly, I have to report to you all that we are losing the fight to save democracy, and I take zero pleasure in doing so. But put simply, democracy as we have known it is fucked. We can't ignore the scores of successful inroads made by Trump, his Supreme Court, the Heritage Foundation, the Federalist Society, Project 2025's authors, and the shadowy corporate and billionaire elite transforming our former democratic republic into a fascist, if not outright Nazi, police state. All of this, while good-hearted and very well-intentioned pundits, historians, legal analysts, political commentators, social media content creators, and legacy media report and hail what they perceive to be as those small interim victories here and there, where a Trump attack on our democracy from one angle or another is seen to be foiled or temporarily blocked, doing so creating hugely misplaced and exaggerated headlines that are nothing more than feel-good items in the face of catastrophic developments leading up to an Orwellian society, as in his novel 1984. In conducting a reality check and proper assessment of our desperate circumstance, we have to address the facts on the ground. Things as they really are, not what we hope they can or will be. Here is the perfect example from David Daley in his Tom Hartman interview on gerrymandering that is taking place in Texas and bravely countered by Newsom and California, with its more universal implications for the House of Representatives 2026 race. David is the author of the national bestseller Rat Fucked: Why Your Vote Doesn't Count and Unrigged: How Americans Are Battling Back to Save Democracy. His journalism on democracy and voting rights appears regularly in The New Yorker, The New York Times, The Atlantic, The Washington Post, Slate, The New Republic, and many other publications. But let's play the videotape.
What's the state of play right now with regard to gerrymandering in the United States?
Republicans have about a 15-seat advantage on the national map, just based on their advantage drawing lines because they control more state legislatures. What we are seeing is Texas has already moved to redraw its maps in the middle of the decade, trying to give Republicans an additional 5 seats there. California trying to counteract that. They're going to move towards essentially trying to suspend their independent commission and to give voters the option of allowing lawmakers to pass a map that draws 5 more Democratic seats. But the trouble for Democrats there is that Republicans aren't going to stop in Texas. Republicans are going to move on. They're going to go to Ohio. They're going to go to Indiana, Missouri, probably Florida. If they want to keep going, they can go to Tennessee, they can go to Georgia, North Carolina, New Hampshire, Kansas, Kentucky. They've got a lot more targets on the table. Democrats are a little stuck after California. They just don't have control of enough states to come up with the numbers that Republicans could do if they want to. So the Democratic path to taking back the House in 2026 is getting a lot tougher every day.
Though our fellow small d Democrats, liberals, and humanists write these giddy and optimistic social media headlines about Newsom and California, the facts, the statistical analysis, and the numbers do not support anything encouraging coming out of the possible national counter-gerrymandering effort. It has taken a perfect storm to create our losing battle to maintain democratic republic. But there it is, the perfect storm. Think of this tyrannical seizure of power as an umbrella with a number of spokes on the outer periphery, each spoke representing an aspect of fascist takeover, ruled by executive order and fiat. Military in the streets of our cities, extortion of our universities and law firms, persecution and prosecution of those opposing Trump, the creation of an extrajudicial law force who are armed, masked, and unidentified that sweep people off the street into unmarked vans and deported without due process. The spread of misinformation and lies is a tactic taken out of the Hitlerian playbook. The ignoring of court orders, unlawful tariffs that harm our people, the disembowelment of federal agencies necessary to service our people, huge cuts to Medicaid, Medicare, and SNAP benefits, the threats to free and fair elections by voting restrictions, gerrymandering, and the threat of ending mail-in ballots and usurpation of voting machines by the Trump regime to rig elections even if they are going to be held, which is no sure thing if he feels threatened by any kind of loss of power. Beware, he hasn't yet used a national declaration or an invocation of the Insurrection Act or declared martial law. But if you don't think this is possible, you're living on another planet. Extra. While Trump is a narcissistic, functional psychotic moron, those in back of him in the shadows, pulling various strings, are not. And they are determined, have expertise, and have him bound to follow their ideological lead. It was a trade-off. Keeping him out of jail and allowing him to rant as a mad king who thinks he rules, but he's just being used as their populist vehicle to power while they steer America into Conrad's heart of darkness. Each and every ploy, from deploying the National Guard to flooding the courts with frivolous cases or making us defend his illegal and unconstitutional executive orders, these all set the stage, sometimes setting precedent, others testing the outer limits of how Trump's power and authority might be increased, taking us into Orban and Putin territory. But the worst is yet to come. I've been forecasting this for years. I started doing it in 2017. And I fear that we don't have the means to prevent the inevitable, as he and his cohorts now control virtually the entire government apparatus of the United States, from the Supreme Court to Congress to the DOJ, the FBI, Homeland Security, and most importantly, the military, who his little tests have been deployed in LA. Remember the company of Marines. This is going to happen again, folks.